How's it going, everybody? I am Donut. This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. If you're not supporting that shit, get the fuck off this channel. This is Squid Game, Season 1, Episode 2, Hell. Just straight up hell. You know what? I'm not even going to try and give a prediction for this one. If you want to get the full length, check it out on the Patreon below for $4 a month. If you want to get multiple episodes ahead, you can also get that on the Patreon. Go check it out. Let's jump into this episode. Okay, so yeah, first off, right off the bat, what I was just talking about. Normally in Death Game series, it's like the however manyth time they've done it, the nth time they've done it. You never really know exactly what number, but it's never, alright, we're doing this for the first time, and here we go. I can think of probably maybe like 3 things off the top of my head that have done that, and it's been, a ways into the series. Like, alright, now we're gonna try out something new that's never been done before. But most of the time, it's always something so that way you can have those twists and like the yeah, ha ha ha, we've planned for all of this. That's really what you, like, again, I think the most entertaining thing to the scumbag rich that are watching it are the twists of like, oh, you thought that you had figured out the game, but there was also this other aspect to it that you didn't even think about that is here, or like, oh, you think you've outgamed the system by doing X, but we've already thought about that, and if you try and do X, we're gonna do Y. Like, that is, I feel like, the pinnacle of Death Game series, but, this one might be going on this is the first time we've done this, so that it is a fallible system. I feel like that's more of a thing in movies. A lot of ones that I wouldn't consider to be death games, but probably, under the most strict definition or the loosest definition, whichever one you prefer, would be death games series or movies or whatever. Some of those do that sort of thing. But could be a possibility here where it is possible to game the system. I mean, we've already seen that in Red Light, Green Light, to be fair, where if you get behind somebody, then the thing can't see you moving. That's a cheat to the system. But I mean, that might be an intentional one. It's hard to say, but it's a thing there regardless. So I wonder what that's going to be. Or I wonder how that's going to go moving forward. There's going to be a lot of, like, you gotta game the system this way. Because, to be fair, a lot of death games are supposed to be like, you have to make it out by cheating, but it's usually in a way that they want you to cheat. Or, I mean, a lot of times not, but, like, it's really dependent. Do they actually want somebody to win this? Or do they expect everybody to die? Because that's also a big difference, right? It seems like they actually do want somebody to win this. Seems like that is the case. This is one where it's not as, or like, they're uncomfortable with the illegalness of it as well, as I guess the best way to put it. They understand that it's possible for them to get caught, for lack of a better word. So, with that in mind, it does seem like they want somebody to win just by nature of not like like they're freeing people out of the world against. They don't care about people talking, so they wouldn't care about somebody winning either. And somebody winning might make it slightly more legitimate, even as illegitimate as it all is. But yeah, that's a possibility, and I'm very excited to see where we're going with that forward. Secondly, having a whole episode where we didn't get any game and no game at all. Fascinating. This was hell, and the whole episode was just them in hell, which is life. I really appreciate that. This is a longer episode than the last episode, too, and yet still, we spent the entire time on it just characterizing our characters in this so far, and I gotta write down the names of some of them that we got new. But yeah, really, like, here is our handful of characters that you're going to be following. Here's all their problems. The only one that we know the least about is, I feel like, the neck tattoo guy, who we know enough about him, but it's not been like there's nothing really sympathetic about him at all. It is fully just like this is the villain. So we have that going for us, at least. We got one villain, and the rest are way more sympathetic. Even the old man, I thought he was going to be, a villain as well. But no, the fact that he hit the red buzzer there, the fact that he, is always trying to find the best in life. Like, he's always trying to find the silver lining. He's always smiling, always upbeat. that's got an interesting aspect to it as well that I was not expecting in the slightest. But I'm glad that he's not just like a straight up like villain, like a creepy, always smiling villain, but he is sympathetic. So, going back to the beginning of it, I was not expecting that. Like, I have seen that, like, oh, if you guys want to terminate the game, then you can say that you can terminate the game sort of thing. I've seen that before, but it's always just straight up a lie. Like, it's always like, oh, but you can't do it now because of X, or we said that, you had to do X first, or blah, blah, blah. Like, there's usually so much other stuff that they get around, like, well, now you can't do it. But the fact that they did, and it wasn't like a game-by-game thing. Like, I thought it was going to be like, well, the next game you all have to agree, and then the next game you all have to agree, and so on and so forth through the 6 games. But, no, this was straight up okay, no, you can all leave, and we're so confident to do this because we know if the majority of you show back up, then we'll start the game again. And, like, I assume either every time that's happened, or they're very confident that it's going to happen if this is the first time. Again, I do like that I'm having to question, like, I don't know how many times they've run this, which I feel like is usually a given to me, but I have to still figure that out for myself. And yeah, a lot of what I said last episode, I take back a little bit in terms of like the, when you just wipe out 75% and 90% of the people. That actually wasn't what this one was, which I gotta give them big credit for. Because again, most other things I've seen it do exactly that, of the 75% to 90% gets weeded out immediately. I mean, even stuff that isn't a death game, even when you do stuff that is just like, we're doing a tournament style game, or we're doing a whatever style game. Like if it's a tournament, then you have like the preliminaries, which take out like 90% of the people. You got like the My Hero Academia thing with the obstacle course, where 90% of people were taken out immediately. Any percent, like anytime you have like a race sort of thing, you have 90% of them taken out immediately. It doesn't matter if it's a death game or not. That's just such a classic trope that I appreciated. This was barely more than half. Like it was just about half that were taken out, which is a good, nice medium, I feel like, to have. It's still wild, because I'm not sure how entertaining that would be in the moment, but it's a lot more commendable. And yeah, last episode we talked so much about wanting to see those personality the personality swaps, the switches, the whatever, the flippity floppities with the personalities, and really just like their emotions in what they're going through, where, they'll be groveling one second, then they'll be saying they want to do the game the next second, they're talking about wanting to go home, they're talking about wanting to get the money, like, really just battling between those two things, but also, like, in the games where it's like, they'll be so confident going into a game and then have all that confidence ripped away from them. That is the appeal of this stuff, and getting to like really take that in this episode, whether it be the immediate like vote sort of thing where we get to see that in a very clear like switching sides sort of thing, or whether we get the whole rest of the episode where we get half of the people who said they didn't want to do this, and then now they're like, what, I really do want to go back in, I have to go back in. Everybody who said no coming back in, I assume. There might be some people who aren't, but at least like all of our named characters, that everybody who said no, coming right back in. And I appreciate the old man would absolutely have said yes if he wasn't the last one. I think that's 100% what we're implying here. Like, he wanted to just go. He didn't say, like, no, because I think this is a bad idea. He was just ready to straight up go again, but then he looked back up at the thing, saw that he was the last one to vote. There's no other, he's the tiebreaker, right? And he's not going to just sentence these people to their death just because it would be, a more entertaining way to go out for him. And so, commend him for that. Absolutely commend him. Because, in the first game, it's not like he did anything wrong. Like, I felt like he was going to be a villain simply because of how they set him up in the first episode, being so happy-go-lucky with everything going on, and then him being the tiebreaker. I assumed that's what was going to make him the villain. So, I'm glad that they they didn't do that. They subverted that, is I guess what I was trying to say. And it's actually really interesting having sort of Sang-woo be our main, like, not our main character, but being our, like, driving force. Like, he is the one who is the most confident, he's the one who has the most main character energy to him, despite not being our main character. Meanwhile, Gi-hoon is the one who is very, very passive, very, very submissive, and like just kind of like being in the background and reacting to stuff. Meanwhile, like, Sang-woo is the actual one who is speaking up about sort of stuff and asking questions and all that shit. So it's very fascinating what we're doing with him. I mean, also just in the second half of the episode, or the majority of the episode really, like, again, Ji-hoon's just kind of reacting to everything and is just being very, very pity me, poor me, even though he has fucked over a lot of people in his life. Meanwhile, Sung-woo is definitely the one who is like, he is upset at how much he has hurt everybody, rather than, like, way more upset about it, way more trying to atone for it, rather than Gi-hoon, who's just like, kind of like, well, I'm just gonna go and ask for the money anyway, and do this and do that, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, at least someone was actually giving out, like, the money to the other guy, 199, I don't know if we got his name. We did, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. Again, I'll write it all down as soon as I'm done this. But, yeah, like, giving out some of the money, being, you know, a nice enough guy. Meanwhile, like, again, Ji-hoon doesn't have the money for it, but it's a very contrasting scene where the old guy had to buy the ramen for him, and then he's sharing his booze with him, but that's about, you know, it. And it's even though he couldn't afford it, it is a very, like, they particularly chose that scene, or both those scenes, for a reason. And so, I'm definitely, primarily rooting for 199 right now, but, 218, Sung-woo is definitely the one who is, like, second. I mean, like, they're all a good team with the three of them, but out of all of them, who I would want to win the most by 199 after that would be 218, Sung-woo. But yeah, Ji-hoon is definitely going to have to, like, there's plenty of reasons why I would want him to, but it's at that same time, like, I mean, to be fair, that is where you want your main character to be perfectly in a death game series. It's like, I want them to win, but I also recognize that if they win at the place where they are right now, they ain't gonna change their life at all. Like, this is not gonna matter for them. Versus, like, Sung-woo actually could, 199 actually could, the Korean girl actually, the North Korean girl actually could. Plenty of them. Like, the old man, I don't want him to win. Again, it would be really, really nice if he won, but I don't want him to win because other people have better outcomes. Versus him is just, he'll be able to live a nice life for the rest of his years, which is nice enough to have, but in a only one can win scenario, you know, it's not the best outcome, but it's still a possible outcome. And I, you know, who knows, that could be the one who actually wins, because he's got the least amount of, like, it's just I'm gonna live a good life for him, and I know he would change his, I mean, it's not much that needs to turn his life around. He's just kind of super old, and so of course he needs the money. I'm not even sure if we know if he's in debt for anything, but he probably is, but probably not his debt. It might be his, you know, children's debt, or his grandchildren's debt, more likely his children's debt. But yeah, that tends to be the case a lot. But either way, just, you know, being as old as he is, he probably can't work, and he needs money. So this is a good way to, you know, either go out, like I said, give me death or give me 45.6 billion. Also, having that really, really nice characterization of our North Korean girl who hits the yes, I want to do this again buzzer, then our neck tattoo guy who hits the no, I don't want to do this again buzzer. Excellent characterization of the two of them. Like, also the fact that she, like, you know, poured the boiling water on the guy's face and brought the knife to his throat, yet tattoo guy straight up murdered that other guy who sold him out. You know, as much as neck tattoo guy is absolute garbage as well, snitching gonna get you stitches. You know what? I'll at least say that much. I'm not fully on, like, how dare you murder that guy. And the piggy bank visual, amazing visual, absolutely dig it. Like, one that it's just gonna keep getting filled up over and over. The fact that it is transparent, so you get to see the money that you're making, that it's a big giant golden piggy bank. There's so much to it that is a perfect, like, even if this was just a bowl of money, it wouldn't be as enticing to these people as a giant gold transparent piggy bank. Like, that is just, of course, the metaphor is there, you get it, but it also brings out that childhood nostalgia. Like, I see how it being a piggy bank is more you want to go for it than it just being a big old tub of money. I don't know why, it just feels so much more like I want to go for it. And yeah, I appreciate that we, again, had a whole episode of downtime that wasn't a game, because I think the most important thing that you can have in a death game series is this like level of realism to it, and this level of exploring the psyches of the characters and why they're in these scenarios. Because at the end of the day, I love almost any death game. I mean, I've read some absolute dog shit, terrible death games, but they're still gonna live on up here, because at the end of the day, death games are fascinating in the same way that, like, Saw is. I mean, Saw is also a death game sort of thing, but most death games you're playing for money at least, or something, but plenty of them you're not. But either way, you know, everybody understands why people are obsessed with death games, just by nature of, like, what, like, seeing people in a terrible situation having to try and survive. That by itself is already, like, everybody's gonna check it out just for that. But what you really want to, like, elevate a death game series above a lot of the dog shit ones is just having that really, like, you gotta nail it in the head. You really gotta shove it in people's faces with the capitalism metaphor, because, like, it is the best genre of anything to do this with, and so you really gotta go heavy on it, and I appreciate how heavy they're going on with it here, in terms of both showing us their lives outside the world, and just the mechanics of the stuff outside the games, and to be fair, even the mechanics inside the games being very relevant to a capitalistic society. And the vote thing was, you know, perfect for that, especially of the, like, it's so half and half. One, you only have two options that you're voting for as well. They're not allowing a third option. There's no middle ground to be met here. It's either a hard yes or a hard no. We're not gonna have a conversation about it. You know, you are opting into this sort of thing, which is not really how it works in the world, but it is showing this, like, it is possible to get out of the system. It is unbelievably, insanely hard, but even given the idealistic scenario of being able to get out of it, would you get out of it instead of, you know, and especially when you're in this situation specifically, when you have all this debt and everything like that, you could cut your losses and run away to another country and try and live in hiding, and, you know, there's ways out of it. But most people are going to stay in the system and stay and try and pay it off and, like, you know, just try and make it work, because they think that maybe I'll hit it big, maybe I will be able to have a life of luxury after this is all over. And especially if you have such a high amount of debt, you can only possibly think, like, most of these people are heavy into gambling addictions as well, so, like, that is what is really... It all compiles, right? There's so much that is weighing on you when you're making that decision to stay in the system and keep going and trudge force and hope that maybe one day you'll hit it big. Whether that is in a gambling sense, whether that is in a job sense, one day you'll get high enough to be able to earn that money. One day you'll get the promotion. One day you'll hit big on the jackpots. One day you'll hit it big at the horse racing. You know, everybody's got, like, some, even playing the lottery. You know, people have that as well. Even people who are plenty well off, or people who are, you know, lower middle class or whatever. Like, plenty of people play the lottery even if they don't need the money, just because, again, everybody wants that hitting it big. And so the idea that you could play a game and win that money is, of course, extremely appealing and everything like that, but it's not that much different than them just normally gambling. The only difference really is just that they don't have to put up the money up front, which is, you know, definitely a big part of gambling, because you have to have that money up front, which also means you win big, you risk it all, you lose big. Like, that's also a huge aspect of a lot of death games that I'm surprised this one doesn't have, because they don't, like, here's money that we're giving you to spend during this gamble or whatever. And again, we had last game some people gambling, but I don't know how that's going to go into that. But man, oh, there's so much talking point. I'm just going from one talking point to another. Going back to, again, the voting into this system, having to, one, if you are voting in, you're not just saying, yes, I would like to be a part of the system. You're saying, yes, I would like to be a part of the system, and everybody else is going to be a part of this system too. Because if you're voting yes for you and everybody. And if you're voting no, you're voting for you and everybody. This isn't a you decision. Whatever vote you're making is a vote for everybody. And, like, that is a dangerous thing to be playing with. My God. Also, again, the fact that we're going very, very heavy on the medical stuff as well ties into it very well. Again, the fact that 199 has his finger that he couldn't pay for. The other guy saying, "Oh, my body hurts, but I don't have the money to go to the hospital." It's not true at all, but it still ties into everything else we got going on. Ji-hoon's mother in the hospital as well. There's a lot of that stuff that is, really adding into the fact that money makes the world go round. If you have money, you can be happy. If you don't have money, you can't be happy. And the idea of money can't buy happiness is complete and utter bullshit. Like, it is even in what Ji-hoon was doing with his ex-wife and her new husband and his daughter and everything, that him trying to pay him off to be like, just leave us alone and here's the money and blah blah blah, and he's like, no, you think money can fix everything? Absolutely not. But yet, if he had the money himself, then that wouldn't have been necessary. That ultimatum wouldn't have come up. If he had the money himself, then he would have been, a better father, just by nature of, if you have better money, you can spend more money. I don't know why I said if he had better money, but you know what I mean. If he had more money, he could spend more money. It just by nature of having money will make you a more likable person, just by nature of you're able to give a little bit to this person, give a little to that person. If you're going out to do something, you don't have to be like, oh, can you please pay for this? Like, it's sad, but that is the world we live in. And like, the idea that money can't buy happiness is bullshit. And so it goes very, very heavy on that with everybody's plot lines here. I mean, we even have the neck tattoo guy who is just a criminal stealing other people's money, going after debtors. Like, it seems like he is like a sort of loan shark, but, not like a legal one, a much, much more illegal one. But anyway, even he, like, taking all these money from other people, even he is hugely in debt to a degree that he cannot possibly ever pay off. Like, everybody is in this shit. Nobody is exempt from this. It's shit. It's a shit system. I mean, and the fact that we call the episode where they are just in their lives hell says a hell of a lot. Like, yeah, that's the truth, man. They all realize, like, being out there in life, having to deal with just being poor, that is far more hell than a game in which I might die. At least I know the consequences are I get a lot of money or I die. Whereas in a capitalistic society, it's a lot more, it's basically the exact same, but it's way more middle ground, way more grayness to it. And like, well, I'm not going to die outright. I'm just going to get hurt more and more and not be able to pay it off until I die a miserable worse death than if I was just shot because I, moved at the wrong time. I can fully understand why so many people want to do these kind of games. And if I was in their situation, I would probably be doing the same thing, because I'm on board. I'm on the side of, again, I'll say it as many times as I need to, give me death or give me 45.6 billion yen. It's an easy thing to say, yeah, I want it as clear cut as that. I want it black and white. Let me have it like that. Let me have it black and white. Come on. And again, going into red light, green light, when we were playing that, it's entirely about, if there's someone in front of you that you can just hide behind, then, they can take the shot for you. You're sort of like just clinging onto them as they're making success in life, and like, you're not going to be getting the biggest success. You're going to be getting just this tiny little, like, I'm just surviving, I'm moving forward, I'm surviving. But like, the moment they slip up, the moment like whether that is like your parent or guardian that you're like holding on to as they're supporting you, or whether that be a relationship, or whether that be a friend, or whether that just be tenants that you're living with, or I'm not sure if that's just roommates that you're living with and stuff like that. Like, whatever the situation may be, or even like if you're working for like a company that's doing, extremely well, but for bad reasons, whatever. Like, all it takes is like that person or that company or that whatever to die, to go under, to lose all their money, for anything, and then you're out there, you got no lifeline, you're completely alone, nothing to hold on to. Very excellent metaphor. Absolutely digging it. The labyrinthine fucking place they have to walk through to get where they're going. Absolutely a perfect metaphor for the labyrinthine fucking world that we live in. How much you have to just keep going and going and going, hoping that there's going to be something of worthwhile on the other end, but just questioning, is this worth it? Did I make the right choice? Is this the way I should be going in life? Blah, 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 blah. It's all excellently done. having the authority figures holding guns to their head and saying, we are trying to upkeep the democratic process is very, very on the nose. I don't know how much more on the nose you can get. So we have our police guy as well, who is coming in here to try and, figure out some shit. He's trailing them. Is that gonna work? We have the North Korean girl who woke up in the, didn't let herself be passed out in the car. Where's that gonna go? Is that just gonna be to find out where they're going? Or is that going to be, are they going to stop that somehow? Is she going to be successful or not? Is the policeman going to be successful or not? I'm very curious about that. That's going to tell me a lot on how many times have they done this? How cautious are they being? Have they done this so many times they're getting relaxed with it now? Could be any one of those. I'm not really sure. And yeah, the policeman story, not that interested in. It's whatever. So far, it's just extremely generic and fuck the police. So, it's not something I give a shit about right now. But either way, also, that police officer, for as much as he tried to call and see if it was the thing or whatever, and he just got the wrong number. He just called the wrong fucking number, and then was just like, well, I'm not going to call it again. Even if he did call it again, it wouldn't matter, because, the line's disconnected. It's not a real number anymore. But the fact that we had that whole scene, and it did amount to, yeah, he called the wrong number is insanity. And yeah, getting to see how, not how, I guess it is, getting to see how ruthless each of them can be. Whether it be, I use the word ruthless very lightly there, but I do mean that as, how ruthless some of them are and how ruthless some of them aren't. In various ways, to the neck tattoo guy completely killing that guy because he snitched on him, to the North Korean girl splashing the hot water on the guy's face, or I guess it was just hot water on the guy's face, and then putting the knife to his throat, and assumingly also stealing some of his money. We didn't quite see that, but she is the pickpocket girl, so assumingly that's what she did there. But either way, that's then a level below that, but it's still, pretty ruthless to throw boiling water on somebody. But it seems like it wasn't exactly boiling. His face was not, melting off or burning off or anything like that, so he seems fine. It was a warning. And then we have the 199 who, went, let that guy's hand just continue to be crushed. It wasn't much he could do at that point, but the fact that he still took the money and ran, that is something. It's very low on the end of being ruthless, but it's something. Ji-hoon just punching his ex-wife's new husband and throwing the money down. That's not ruthless, but again, it's something seeing what they're capable of in these stressful situations. What are they going to do when they're pushed to, not the max, but when they're pushed to what they think is their max right now. And that is absolutely fascinating. That's the stuff you want to see. The only one we didn't get to see was the old man. We don't know, a whole lot about him. We know everything he's told us, but the key is always seeing them by themselves. What are they like when they're by themselves? Or when they're, in a situation where they're one-on-one with somebody and they can act like that. With the old man, but also with what is it, Sung-woo as well. We have not gotten that one at all either. So, that's going to be fascinating. Between the two of them, we don't know what they're capable of. And that's what you want. We don't know what they're capable of. I don't know a better way to put it than that. I feel absolutely terrible for these mothers. Man, these mothers did not deserve these sons. Seriously. Family problems galore as well. Pickpocketing girl as well. Got all that going on. And also with Neck Tattoo Guy, we've also already had, someone turning on him and everything like that. Our first, big knife in the back, literally between the both of them. Just with the one, literally. But you know what I mean. Big knife in the back moment with both of them. We've already had that. Not in a game, just outside of that. But it's what I want to see the most. This, surprisingly was not expecting it, but that aspect of seeing their outside lives a lot reminds me a lot of Gantz, actually, more so than, a lot of this reminds me the most of Kaiji, I think, especially with Gi-hoon and Sung-woo just being very, very similar to the appearance of Kaiji and Furuhara, even though their personalities are way, way different. Way, way different. Not much with Ji-hoon, but I would say he doesn't have that same, I don't know, aggressiveness, that same, willing to put himself out there that Sung-woo has, but that also Kaiji has. But yeah, their appearance is mostly what the similarity there is. But yeah, the seeing how shitty their lives are outside of the game definitely reminds me a lot of Gantz as well. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say for this episode. I will see you guys for the next episode, whatever that one is, whatever it's called. Until then, get the fuck out of here.